Tonight we continue a series of interviews with candidates running for Boston City Council in the preliminary election on September 24th. Our guest is running for councilor at large, and we'd like to welcome Domingos DaRosa.
Thank you, Chris. Thanks for having me tonight.
Thank you very much for joining us again, Domingos. Let's talk about your background before running for this race, because you've got a business, you've been very active in the community. What have you been doing?
I'm a father of four, happily married. I currently live in Hyde Park. I grew up in Roxbury and Dorchester. I've been very active in my community since I was about 10 years old. Working with DSNI when it first came into the area. We would, come out on the weekends and clean up a lot of the empty lots. And from there, we kind of continued to do different grassroots things as DSNI grew. We started to learn more of that. And when I say we, the kids in the community, over the years, I worked for the city of Boston as a lifeguard for 21 years. I left back in 2014, where then I started my own business in 2015 during the 3 blizzards that we got, and was able to get it off the ground and make it sustain itself. I'm very active in the community, doing different, within different groups like Violence in Boston, the 10,000 Fearless Peacemakers, Orchard Gardens United. I support groups like City Life, Not for Sale, and a few others, Cape Verdean Association of Boston, things like that. Grassroots community groups that, just need the bodies to make things happen.
When you mentioned DSNI, the Dudley Street Neighborhood Initiative, you talked about, doing things to sort of tidy up the neighborhood, but you were, I'm sure, in contact with some very interesting and inspiring people. What did that mean for you?
A lot of the folks that I grew up watching do community activism, sort of like Ted Laska, who I call the godfather of swimming here in Boston. They instilled things in me of giving back. Johnny Dawson, who hired me at the Marshall Community Center, who was like the neighborhood dad. He made sure all the kids received school supplies, had a camp to go to, received a summer job for the kids that were able to. So those folks meant a lot, because I noticed how they just did it out of love. They was never looking for a return. And I picked up those habits. So I'm always looking to give without the return, because that's what makes a community, is when we as a community member give to members in our community who might or might not have those little things that they need.
You've been going back to this part of Boston, at least not too far from Dudley Street, at the Orchard Gardens development. A lot of people have seen your posts about the needles on the ground. Tell us about that.
It's something that has taken over Lower Roxbury, South End, parts of Southie, and parts of Dorchester. Because of Long Island being closed, those individuals who are looking for treatment now reside on the area of Mass Ave and Molina Cass. And they fanned out into different parts of the city, and what they leave behind is causing a public safety issues for the families within these areas. And in my eyes, this is something that we as a city can address by coming out and supporting those individuals who just want to be treated as equal. So I was contacted by a group of parents from Orchard Garden United who were looking for an additional support. They seen some of the things that I were doing at Clifford Park, Jim Rice, and within the group called Needles in the Park. And we were able to clean up certain areas, and that's what they were looking for, an outlet to express their concerns and also have the ability to address the issues at hand.
Of course, after that gesture, the problem comes back again the next day. So how do you break the cycle on that?
Just speaking to the users, letting them know, this is a school. This is a park. Like, families come here to use it. And letting them know, like, we understand your issues, but again, what you leave behind becomes the next man's issues. We've asked the city to, install a fence at Orchard Gardens to deter them from using the back of the school as a cut-through. We've asked them to change the mulch, play chips at Clifford Park. We've asked them to bring in increased police patrols. We're back when I was a kid, I remember municipal police would patrol the parks to make sure everyone was safe. We don't have that luxury anymore. We don't have that agency through the city anymore. So it's adding to the stress of the Boston Police Department, but it's something that they need to do. It's something that I like to see the bicycle patrol, that's something that is more towards their fits their criteria within the police department, because the families are living in fear for their children's safety.
This is Piano News. We're talking with Domingos DaRosa, candidate for city councilor at large. Domingos, almost everybody in the city, all over it, is talking about housing, how expensive it is, people being displaced. What would you like to do, especially for the people at risk of displacement?
That's a great question, Chris, because I've been working with City Life and Dot Not for Sale and a few other housing groups, and we would like to see the IDP raised from 12% to 30%, 33%, because
that is the commitment to affordable units, right?
Yes, it is.
Yeah.
And until we change that number, we're going to continue to have these conversations. Because when you have 900 units coming into Alston Yard and only 130 is affordable, and again, that medium income, we're speaking 68,000. It's not exactly reflecting what families in Lower Roxbury, Dorchester, and other parts of the city are making. Not everyone in the city is making $68,000 a year, but that's the income they're looking for a lot of these affordable units. And it's not affordable to families who only make $33,000 a year.
Turning to public safety, homicides are down a bit this year, but non-fatal shootings are significantly up. What's missing? What needs to be done?
It goes back to our education system. How do we engage the young people and keep them engaged? Our dropout rate has increased. That's a number that people don't really speak on. We have 41% of our schools in failing, and a lot of that is because students don't attend school. When you have, folks who are supposed to be taking the MCAS, they're not there. That brings the number down. That brings the school into that tier 4 of a receivership. You're one step away from being taken from the city and given to the state. And that's something that we can change. The way that we engage and we keep young folks entertained in school, and how we go about giving them the tools they need to be successful when they get out of school. So that's why we're seeing an uptick in a lot of the violence in Boston. Not only that, but the jobs. $664 million of city contracts, less than 1% went to minority or women-owned businesses. That's another issue. Folks feel desperate, and in desperate times, people are going to do desperate things. And a lot of the issues that I see within my own city is the fact that, as a black man, I'm worth $8. That's my net worth. Came out on the Globe write-up. And how do I feel about that? How do I feel when someone says my net worth is only $8, knowing that I work 40 hours a week, I give the best I can, and I don't have that ladder to success because it's not being presented to me or the folks in my community? And those are the things that I try to put light on as a candidate, to let people know that we can make a difference. Once we receive the information that we need, then we can act upon it.
Thank you very much for being with us.
Thank you, Chris.
Domingos DaRosa, candidate for Boston City Council at large. We'll have more news in just a moment.